Alright guys, so in this video I want to go over the tools we'll be using as well as our environment, which is going to be very simple. We're writing vanilla front-end JavaScript, so essentially all you need is a text editor and a browser. But I do want to show you some of the extensions that I'll be using and so on. So as far as the text editor, you can use whatever you want. You probably already have a preference. I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code. That's what I recommend. It's very easy to use, it's intuitive, it has great extensions, and it's very popular. I would say the most popular for web development, especially front-end web development. And then there's some extensions I'll be using as well. So I would suggest using it, but you don't have to. If you use Sublime Text or Atom or something else, you can still follow along just fine. So the next thing I'd say to install is Git if you don't have that already, and Git is version control. So basically we can create repositories with our code, and we can also push to third-party services like GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. So this is not a Git course, but I will show you just the basics, and we will need to push to a service so that we can host some of our applications, some of our projects, because I do want to do a couple simple deployments. All right, and you can install Git many different ways. If you're on Mac, you can use Homebrew. You can also go to git-scm.com and you can download and install it as well. And then I'd also say install Node.js just to have it on your system. Node.js is it's a JavaScript runtime, so it essentially allows you to run JavaScript on your machine or on a server rather than just in the browser. So you can actually use Node.js as your back-end technology. Now, this, of course, is not a Node.js course, but there are some things that I'd like to talk about, especially with NPM, which is the Node Package Manager, and that comes with Node.js. So I would suggest installing that. And you can install either the long-term support or the most recent, the current version. It really doesn't matter for this course. So what I want to do now is just go into VS Code and just show you the extensions that I'm using. Now I have a ton installed, but there's really only two that I would highly recommend that you use with this course. So one is called Live Server. So if we scroll down here, let's see right here, Live Server. So we're writing front-end JavaScript, so we don't really need any kind of server. You could have an HTML file right on your desktop and have a JavaScript file linked to it, or just create the script tag in the HTML file and just open it, run it in a browser, and it works. However, Live Server gives you like a mini dev server that you can run your files with, and it'll auto reload in the browser whenever you make any changes. And that includes making changes in the JavaScript, the HTML, the CSS. If you change any of that code, it auto reloads, so you don't have to keep reloading the browser yourself. So I would definitely recommend using this. That's what I'll be using throughout the course. And then the other thing that I would suggest is Prettier, which is a code formatter. It just keeps your code nice and clean. In fact, I'm going to bring over a file real quick. And you guys, of course, don't have to do this, but I'm just going to open this up. It's a file from the course. And I'm going to show you my settings in a minute, but basically you'll see if I tab a line way over here and then I go and I save, it'll put it right back. Okay, so it keeps your code nice and clean. And then you can also set like the spacing. You can set if you want to use semicolons or not, because in JavaScript semicolons actually are not, they're not mandatory. So you can set those to on or off. As you can see, I have them set to on. So if I miss a semicolon and I save, it adds it automatically. And you can also set it the other way around, where if you have a semicolon and you save, it gets rid of it. And then the other thing that I want to show you are quotes. So you can see this string is wrapped in single quotes. I prefer to use single quotes, so I have it set so that if I have double quotes in here and then I save, it automatically gets set to single quotes. All right, now where you can configure this stuff once you install Prettier is if you go to the settings, so right here, settings, and then just search for Prettier. And then you'll find all these options here, but the ones I want to show you are right here. So semi, you can see I have this checked, so it's going to add semicolons if I forget. If I uncheck it, it'll do the opposite. And then down here, I have single quote checked, which by default, I believe this is not checked, but I prefer single quotes, so I do have it selected. And then here, my tab width, I believe the default is 4, but I have mine set to 2, which makes it a little more compact and neater in my opinion. All right, so those are the settings. Now, to make sure that your code formats when you save, just search for format in the settings, and right here, format on save, just make sure that that's checked. All right, so we can close that up, close that. But that's it as far as the tools that I'm using and our environment. So let's move on to the next video.